Final Fantasy VII Remake is an incredibly well realised recapturing of one of gaming's genuine icons. While playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I couldn't get over the feeling of how happy a true Final Fantasy VII diehard will be playing this game. While I've played some of the original, my nostalgia for the game is second hand. I recognise the music and I know the names of the characters and the general story beats, but before playing this I hadn't fully grasped why this game is held in such mythical esteem. But after more than 50 hours traversing Midgar's depths, I finally get it. This is an exceptional game. Final Fantasy VII Remake follows Cloud Strife, an extremely moody git with a massive sword and fantastic hair who is contracted to work for Avalanche, an eco-radical group determined to undermine Shinra, the symbol of capitalist torpor and the ruler of Midgar. After blowing up a reactor that takes out a large part of the city, Avalanche becomes enemy number 1 and is forced back into the slums below the imposing structure. Cloud must battle with flashbacks of his own mysterious past, as well as learning to work with his new allies, a 9-foot tall wall of muscle with a gun for an arm, Barret, and Tifa, an all-kicking, all-punching flame from Cloud's past. You're later joined by waifu of the decade Aerith, and others who I won't spoil, but it's a remake of a game from almost 25 years ago, so it's a bit like spoiling The Empire Strikes Back. I found the story to be far more compelling than I expected. There is a very clear thesis statement about environmentalism and the necessity to end the limitless march of production at the expense of the planet. This is a deeply political game, far more than I had realised. It sticks with its theme throughout, exploring some anti-Western exceptionalism for good measure. I don't know if it was this overt in the original, or if it just comes across more when you're seeing it rendered so expertly. Either way, I think it elevates the game greatly. Where the story falls somewhat short is in its delivery, which is by far the weakest part of the game. The voice acting was a real disappointment, however strangely it didn't seem out of place. It's very anime. I mean, it is Final Fantasy, but it still cuts the legs out from under some of the more emotionally charged moments. You do get used to it, your brain starts to adjust into anime mode. The biggest change from the original game is the battle system. Foregoing the turn-based everyone stand around like they forgot their lines style of the OG, the remake adopts an active battle system akin to Final Fantasy XV. Players can still issue commands to other party members, or the AI will make feeble attempts to play as them. For the first few fights I didn't really bother giving them commands as I was focused on my huge sword, but as soon as I started chaining together the abilities of the other characters as well as the elemental weaknesses of the enemies, I was flying through battles. Each character has unique gear which can be infused with materia, an ethereal substance which determines which spell each character can use. I got really into gearing up my team to have complementary spells for battle. I made sure Cloud had the main offensive elements covered, while Aerith was stocked up with enough healing for 10 parties. Barret mostly got distracted by shooting things. It encourages strategy and punishes mindlessly attacking, which is the perfect kind of RPG battle system in my opinion. There also seems to have been a great amount of thought put into the pacing of how frequently battles appear. Random battles are obviously gone, but that doesn't mean you're tripping over monsters on every street corner. There is enough where the world feels alive, but not so many as to force you to flee through them, which hilariously is now achieved by literally running away. Towards the end of the game there are a few chapters that have one or two too many boss fights, which can be frustrating at times, but as with normal battles, taking time to analyse the enemy and focusing on their weaknesses ensures that none of them are impossible. The game is broken up into chapters. These vary in length from around an hour to literally up to 10 hours. A few of the chapters will allow you to take on side quests in open-ish areas around the Midgar slums. These are nice distractions and a good way to level up your gear and materia. However, having these segments which allow you to grind the story to a halt for literally hours hurts the pacing, and it's mostly due to how they've expanded basically every aspect of the original. For example, the church sequence with Aerith doesn't happen until 8 hours into the game. Now if you're familiar with the original, you must be asking yourself, so is this game 250 hours long? Well, that's a peculiar thing. There is nothing denoting that this is just part 1 of Final Fantasy VII. I assume this was done so that the game wasn't in another 40 years of development, but it causes issues with the way the story is told. For example, in the final few hours of the game, characters are introduced left and right that have been completely absent up until now, meaning you need a flowchart to keep track of who the enemy actually is. In one sense it's exciting because I absolutely loved this game and I'm dying to play the next part, but it also leaves me feeling a bit hollow because by all accounts they've not even started part 2, and by then will I really remember what's happening and who's who and who I'm meant to be fighting? As you may have already noticed, visually the game is incredible. The game retains the atmosphere and dingy colour palette of the original while fleshing out areas that were previously just muddy shapes. Wall Market, for example, is now a neon-drenched paradise, twisting and turning like something out of a Yakuza game. The best remakes fill in the gaps where previously players had to imagine scope, and Final Fantasy VII Remake does that constantly. The main characters also look tremendous. However, some of the unimportant NPCs do slightly look like they've fallen out of the last generation. Late in the game, there's a strange homage to the PS1 pre-rendered backgrounds, which I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but I'll leave that up to you. The soundtrack remains one of the game's greatest strengths. One great addition is the ability to collect discs around the world that you can play on command. This is pure fan service, but it's the kind of fan service I love. It's not in your face, it's not self-congratulating, and it doesn't alienate new players. A sentiment which runs through the entire game. Final Fantasy VII Remake is an absolutely stellar RPG. It has a combat system that carried me through its 50+ hour campaign without me tiring of it once. Its presentation is a tour de force for the PlayStation 4 in its final year as Sony's main machine. While the voice acting didn't wow me, I developed an affection for the characters that so many others have had for years, and now I know why. There is no one I wouldn't recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake to. It has elevated an icon to new heights, and I can't wait to play it again. This is simply one of the best games on PlayStation 4. Thanks for watching this review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you're interested in the game, let me know in the comments below. Why not check out another one of our reviews and subscribe to BBC The Social Gaming. Until next time, I'm Jordan Midler. See you later.